All right, let's talk about one of the trickiest balancing acts for any builder. On one hand, you've got this constant drive to innovate, to make your tools better. But on the other hand, you have a critical need, an obligation, really, to not break things for the people who rely on your work every single day. That's the tension we're diving into.
So here's the big question, right? How do you roll out all these powerful new features and essential fixes without just creating a complete mess for your users? Honestly, getting this right is what separates a platform people love from one they just put up with.
I absolutely love this analogy because it's so perfect. Think about it. You can't just lock the doors and start swinging a sledgehammer. No way. You have to be meticulous. You rope off a section, you put up signs that are impossible to miss, and you make sure people can still get to the books they need while all this work is happening. That is exactly what we're doing when we evolve our software.
Now, to pull off that library renovation without total chaos, everybody needs to speak the same language. You need signs everyone understands. Well, in our world, that language is called versioning. It's how we clearly communicate what's changing, why it's changing, and what it means for everyone else.
And the industry standard, the universal dialect for this, is semantic versioning. You'll hear people call it SEMver. It looks simple, just 3 numbers, but it's actually a powerful promise you're making to your users. It tells them, just by glancing at the version number, exactly what kind of change to expect and if it's going to mean work for them.
Let's break it down real quick. That first number, major, is the big one. Going from version 1 to version 2, that means you made a breaking change. Something that used to work might not anymore. The second number, minor, means you added a new feature, but in a way that doesn't break anything. And that last number, patch, that's just for bug fixes. No new features, nothing breaks. It's a contract, plain and simple.
Okay, so you're on board with SEMver. Awesome. But knowing the language is one thing. How you actually implement these versions in your code is a whole other story. Turns out there's more than one way to do it, and each one comes with its own pros and cons. Let's look at the 3 main strategies.
First up, we have tool name versioning. This one is as straightforward as it gets. You literally create a whole new tool, usually just by sticking a _v2 on the end. The old send email and the new send email _v2 live right next to each other. It's super clear for your users, but the downside is you can end up with a whole bunch of tools to maintain.
Our second strategy is parameter versioning. With this approach, you keep the same tool, but you tweak its inputs to support both the old and new ways of calling it. For example, your send email tool could be updated to handle a new format while still supporting a toLegacy parameter for older clients. This allows for a really gradual migration, but it definitely makes your tool's code a bit more complex.
And finally, there's server versioning. This is a really clean, big-picture approach. You're literally running 2 separate instances of your service, a V1 and a V2. Users just point their request to whichever version they need. It gives you this beautiful separation, but it also means you've got more operational overhead. You're managing 2 distinct environments.
So there you have it, a clear set of choices. If you want maximum clarity, you go with toolname. If you need a slow, gentle transition, parameter versioning is your friend. And if you want a totally clean break between versions, server versioning is the way to go. The key takeaway here is that there's no single best answer. It all depends on your system, your team, and your users. So you've launched your shiny new V2. Great. But what about V1? You can't just pull the plug. That's where the art of deprecation comes in. And I call it an art because it's all about empathy. This is a thoughtful, user-first retirement plan for your old features that respects the time and effort your users have invested.
A good deprecation isn't just a flip of a switch. It's a campaign, really, in 3 phases. First, you announce it. You give people a heads up with plenty of time. Then, you start to warn them, maybe with logs or console messages, reminding them that the end is coming. And only after a generous amount of time has passed do you finally officially remove it.
Let's make that real with a 6-month timeline. Imagine on January 1st, you release Feed 2, and you officially announce that V1 is now deprecated. You give everyone a 3-month grace period to make the switch. Then, on April 1st, the warnings start getting a bit louder for anyone still using V1. By the time June 1st rolls around, nobody should be surprised. The change is expected, and you can confidently turn V1 off.
But here's the thing. Just telling people they need to move isn't enough. It's on us, the builders, to build them a bridge to the new version. A smooth migration is our responsibility, and the #1 tool for that is amazing documentation.
So what makes a migration guide great? Well, first, you have to spell out exactly what changed. Then, give them clear, step-by-step instructions. And this is the most important part. Show side-by-side code examples. Here's the before, here's the after. Nothing is clearer than that. Throw in the timeline and a way to get help, and you've just empowered your users to upgrade all by themselves.
Let's really nail this down with an example. Here's the before. In version 1 of our email tool, the to field was simple. It just took a single email address as a string. Easy, but not very flexible.
And here's the after. In version 2, we made a breaking change. The to field now expects an array of strings, so you can send an email to multiple people. Seeing it laid out like this, side by side, the change you need to make becomes instantly obvious.
Now, you want a pro tip to make this even smoother for your users? On your own back end, you can build what's called an adapter layer. Think of it like a smart translator. It sees an old V1 request come in, and it automatically converts it to the new V2 format on the fly. This means during that whole transition period, your API can actually support both versions, giving people even more breathing room to update.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. The philosophy, the different strategies, the whole deprecation process. So let's wrap it all up into a simple, actionable playbook that you can start using right away.
Here it is, your 6-step checklist to do this right. 1. Adopt semantic versioning. 2. Keep a meticulous changelog. 3. Announce your deprecations way ahead of time. 4. Write fantastic migration guides. 5. Actually monitor who's still using the old version so you can give them a nudge. And 6. When the deadline comes, stick to it and remove the old tool.
And that brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Your changelog, it's not just some boring technical file. It's the story of your product's journey. It's how you communicate with your users about where you've been and where you're headed. So the question is this: is the story your changelog tells a clear one? Is it honest? And most of all, is it helpful?